In this video, let's see what other tools are available in the Sandbox toolbox. So if you go into the Sandbox toolbox, which sounds kind of awkward when you say it out loud, there are two other tools, the stamp tool and the drape tool. Let's see what those two tools do. So if you create a rectangle like this, I'm gonna triple click it to select it, and I want to move it right above the terrain that we just made. So I'm gonna use my move tool, and I'm gonna press the up arrow key on my keyboard, so it's locked on to the blue axis like so. And then I'm gonna press another arrow key on my keyboard, the left arrow key, which should lock it onto the green axis. Yours might be a little bit different, so you might want to just press the arrow keys just a couple of times to see which one works for you to lock it into the axis that you want. So I'm just going to place it somewhere just above the terrain that we just created, like so. And while it's selected, I'm going to click on the stamp tool, and I'm going to click on the terrain. As you can see, when you click and move it up, it stamps the exact form that you created. So this tool can be used, for example, to create a base for a house that you're creating on a slopey site or something like that. And you can also add a pathway maybe at the same height if you wanted to. Like if you want a pathway at the same height, you can do that as well with this particular tool. But I mean, in reality, pathways usually follow the terrain itself. So let's see what we can do with the other tool. So I'm gonna go into the top view like so, and I'm gonna randomly draw just a curving pathway, kind of. It doesn't look like a road, really. It's like a kind of a worm, but that's fine. That should work for our purpose. And I'm gonna do the same thing that I did with the rectangle. I'm gonna move it up, lock it onto the blue axis, like so, and then lock it onto the green axis, and move it up somewhere around here, so it's on top of my terrain. Let's just delete this thing here. Alright, so I'm gonna select, and I'm gonna use the other tool, which is the drape tool, and I'm gonna click on my terrain. So when I click on it, it does what it does is it kind of lays out a shadow of the shape that you just drew. The first one, it just brings up the surface that you created, but in this one it just drapes, so lays out the pattern onto the surface. And this can be helpful, especially if you want to add a different texture. So for example, if you wanted to add a different texture to this section here, oops, not how I want it to happen, so I will click on it to go inside, and then let's say I wanted a different texture here than here. I can do that using this the drape tool. The previous tool was stamp tool. The drape tool creates kind of a shadow on top of the surface that you created. So those are the two tools. This one, add detail, what it does is it just creates additional detail or additional now since I've added this, you can't see it here, but what it does is it just creates additional points on the surface that you created. So you can do that, and you can flip the edges if you wanted to using the other tool that's available. But for the most part, these are the tools that you'll probably be using using this Sandbox toolbar.